What's up, guys? It's Ryan Sam here. Today we're drinking water. It's very nice, actually. Yeah, sorry about the sweat here. It's super humid right now in Houston, and I wanted to walk to this nice location. Also, there's a bunch of mosquitoes, so that's fun. But anyways, today what we're going to be talking about is what a programmer would install on their computer. So actually, I filmed a video back when I was in Chicago. It was going to be just me setting up my Mac after I bought the MacBook Air, which you can watch that in my previous video, linked up there. Anyways, it ended up being really boring, so I decided that I was going to make another video, and I'll still use some of that footage. Specifically for me, I'm a self-taught software developer, so I focus more on the front-end side of a website. So the front end is something that the user would see. Take Facebook, you can see the post, the text, the little ads on the side of it. All that's done by what they call a front-end developer. So basically their job is to take a design and turn a web page into that design. Usually these designs are created by UI designers or sometimes UX designers. They can kind of be interchanged a little bit. There is a difference between the two, but yeah. Oh my god, the mosquito. But anyways, let's get started. So number one on the list would be Google Chrome. So as a front-end developer, if you want the latest and greatest features for a web browser, that would be Google Chrome. They usually have the most up-to-date stuff. Everything runs off what is called the V8 engine, which is basically an interpreter for JavaScript. It takes JavaScript and interprets it in a really optimized way, which makes it super fast for running JavaScript on the web browser. As well as it has like the latest CSS features and HTML features that you can find on web browsers. Another great thing about Google Chrome is the developer tools. So as a front-end developer, a lot of times you'll get bugs in the website. So you'll code something and then it'll look really off and you don't know why. So what you do is you can actually, if you click on the three little dots at the top right of your screen, and that will bring down a drop-down menu, and then you can go into tools and I think inspect. I'm not exactly sure, but it's in there. From there you can kind of run through your HTML and CSS code and kind of see why some of the web pages are looking kind of weird, and it's really useful for helping with that. Another thing that's great for is debugging your JavaScript. So if you don't know how to use a debugger, basically what you do is you set what's called a breakpoint, and when the code runs, it will stop on that breakpoint. You can step-by-step run through your code. That way you can see the state of your functions and variables and see what's on the call stack. That kind of gets into some more complicated stuff, but the gist of it is it's really useful for programming and fixing things on a website. Okay, so the second thing that a front-end developer would use is a text editor. Now, there's lots of different text editors. Some people prefer to actually just use the text editor that comes pre-installed on the computer in the terminal, which is called Vim. There's other ones like Emacs, and there's always a debate going on between the two of which one's better. But for a front-end developer, that can be kind of be hard to deal with. It's not always the most user-friendly at first, so it kind of has a little bit of a learning curve to it, and it doesn't come with extensions and stuff that you can use that helps you with your code. So usually what I find the best text editor for me, and what's kind of most popular right now, is VHCode. So for those of you that don't know, VHCode is this text editor that was made by Microsoft. It's a simpler text editor that's really customizable. It also has great native features in it, like the integrated terminal, which makes it easier to do things when you're working with Node applications and stuff like that. Also, another great thing is it has a pretty large user base, and a lot of these people are constantly updating and creating extensions to help you write your code faster or better, or help you debug and stuff. So a lot of these extensions are really good for stuff like syntax highlighting. If you program in different languages, some languages it's easier to kind of see what's going on in your code if you have syntax highlighting that's specific to that language. For example, there's an extension for JavaScript called Babel, and what that will do is syntax highlight your JavaScript code for the newer JavaScript standards such as ES6 or later. So the next thing on my list would be Xcode. Now, I kind of have a hobby where I would like to program embedded systems. So I don't know if you've ever seen like microcontrollers, like things like an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi. That's kind of more of like Raspberry Pi, not so much, but Arduino very much so is an embedded system. But it's kind of more for hobbyists. What I really started getting into was low-level programming on like actual microchips. So what I did, I bought an Arduino, and then I just didn't kind of like how it was really for hobbyists. So I looked at the actual microchip in the Arduino, and then just purchased that offline. And then with that came, I had to buy a in-circuit debugger, and what that does is connect to certain pins on the microcontroller, and it uses electrical pulses to then program the microcontroller. So that kind of stuff is programmed using usually C, sometimes C++. To be able to program C and C++, you need Xcode, which comes with the G++ and GCC compilers, which I think is what's referred to as like a GNU compiler or something like that. But anyways, what that allows you to do is to write C and C++ code and then compile it, and you can use that code to then upload to your microcontrollers. Another great thing it's great for, which I'm also getting into as a little bit of a hobby, is game programming. Game programming has been traditionally programmed in C and C++ for a very long time now. I think for over 20 years. Right now, I'm not that great at it. The best I can do is create a screen with a square that can move in all different directions and then change the colors on the screen. Another common thing that Xcode is used for is app development on Apple devices. So for example, all your apps that you'll see on your iPhone or your iPad, iWatch, Mac, all those applications can be programmed using Xcode. The most common programming language that's used to create iOS apps is a newer language called Swift, which is very popular using Xcode. So that's kind of some of the things that Xcode can do. It's a really great program for developing apps and programming in C and C++. But yeah, so the next important thing that pretty much any software engineer needs is Git. Now, Git is a command line tool that allows you to take your code and save it in a repository. Now, what that allows you to do is basically anytime that you mess up your code or you have a bug in it or something like that, it allows you to kind of like go back in the past and use your old code without actually saving that directly on your computer. Another thing that it allows for is for people to collaborate on a project. It has features like pull requests and merging code, and what that does is basically when two or more people are working on a project, it does a really great job at merging two people's code together on the same project without having conflicts in the code. It also has a feature where you leave a message. Basically what that does is allows any other collaborator to kind of see what you did when you change a certain section in the code, as well as it kind of outlines the pieces of code that have been changed, as well as code that's been deleted and code that's been added. Another great plus to this is GitHub, which is what most people use. So GitHub is an online repository that allows you to upload your code to a website called GitHub. No matter what computer you're on, or wherever you are in the world, instead of having the program on your computer, you can basically hop on any computer that has Git installed onto it and then download it from the online repository and then work on it. And then once you're done working on it, you can then upload it back to the repository, and all this previous things that I talked about that Git is really useful for is kept in the GitHub repository as well. So next on my list would be Node.js. Now Node.js allows you to do lots of powerful things with JavaScript, such as use JavaScript as a backend language, which in the past wasn't really possible. Previously, it was really only used for scripting on the front end. With web pages, you can kind of add some features when you click a button or move things on the screen, but that's really all it was for. Now it can be used for much more using Node.js, allowing you to write back-end applications, which, if you don't know what the back-end is, when I was talking about the front end, I was telling you it was that. When I was talking about the front end, I was telling you that it's what the user sees. Now the back end is pretty much everything that happens that the user doesn't see. The back end doesn't exist on the user's computer. All back-end code would exist on a server in some remote location. Anytime you pay for something or submit a message on Facebook or something like that, that has to go through the back end because it has to be delivered to a bank or a user that is somewhere else in the world. For example, when you submit a message, it would talk to the back-end server, and to put it simply, it'd be like, hey, this person just sent a message. It needs to be sent to this person in this location. And it goes through the back-end server, and then the front end is now then the front end receives that information and is now responsible for updating the web page and showing you that that message has been sent. But more on Node.js, it's also widely used for JavaScript libraries. Me personally, I use a library called React. And React is a way to create a front-end application using things that are called components. It's a really great way how to organize your code, and it's really great for code reusability, so you're not writing the same HTML and CSS over and over again. But for me to program using the React library, I would need to install it using npm, which is the Node package manager, and then I can include the library in my code and then start writing React applications. So the next important thing for me would be the React Dev Tools. Now that's a Chrome extension. If you don't know what a Chrome extension is, basically it's little apps that you can install on your Chrome browser that can do certain things. For example, the most common one I think is probably ad blockers. A lot of people install an ad blocker in their Chrome browser, and that way when they're watching things like YouTube and stuff, they don't have to sit through the ads and can just watch the video, or websites and anything like that. But there's also extensions for developers, and the one that's useful for me is the React Dev Tools. Now what that allows me to do is, back when I was first talking about Google Chrome and I was talking about the debugging tools that come with it, what the React Dev Tools does is kind of adds an extra function, an extra layer to that. So it's not really easy to go through your code using just the normal. It's not very easy to go through your React code just using the normal debug tools that comes with Google Chrome. It doesn't record things like a component state. It's not really easy to look at the component hierarchy, as well as it doesn't use the component names. So that's another really useful thing that I constantly use all the time when I'm programming in React. That's going to be it for today, guys. Remember, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Also, this channel is going to be revolved around business tech, so I really want to start talking about creating a startup company and stuff that revolves around more popular tech companies and kind of just like technology as a whole. So if you'd be interested in that kind of stuff, make sure to also subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be posting videos hopefully weekly now. Anyways, my name is Ryan Sam. Thanks for tuning in today, and I'll catch you guys later.